You know, we were just talking about this issue of the DHS and domestic terrorism and how they're tagged and labeled. And I got to tell you, there's an article out there this morning in the Washington Post. It actually came out yesterday, the 27th. And it's called Brokers Use Billions of Data Points to Profile Americans. And what most people don't recognize is that the companies that are doing this are actually taking that data, and in order to profit from it and reimburse themselves for the cost of collecting it, they're selling it. Not only just to other companies. I mean, I get it. There's insurance companies that want to buy that, so they know how to target you. There's, a clothing store that wants to buy it so that they know what demographic to go after and blah, 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 blah. All the normal arguments. But the more insidious, the more dangerous system, the more dangerous entity that's buying this is your federal government itself. They're buying what they're prohibited legally from collecting on you themselves. That is a scary thought. In other words, they're already capturing as much as they think they can get away with. But they supplement those files by buying data from these entities to backfill their files. And they know whether you are a single mom. They know whether you are an American of Italian extract or African American extract, or if you are an individual who has had medical concerns where you've got a bad heart or you've got a bad liver problem. They know if you've had a drug problem or an alcohol problem in your past. They know whether or not you shop online or whether you shop locally. They know what kind of food you eat. They know what kind of services you use. They know whether or not you have internet. They know whether or not you use the internet to just watch a movie from time to time on Netflix, or whether or not you're out there looking at those subversive alternative media websites that make you a violent extremist. They know whether you speak more than one language. They know whether or not you have a pet and how you feel about that. They know whether or not you're running a small business out of your home. Maybe one that you're not paying taxes on. See, they're data brokers, and they gather all this information. And with the information that they're gathering, they have an opportunity to what? Identify and profile you. Now, those profiles, of course, come with a problem because they tell a lot of information about you. They draw a picture of you that is so exacting that, quite frankly, there's not a whole lot left to the imagination. One of the statements in the article says, with potentially thousands of fields, data broker segment consumers into dozens of categories, such as Bible lifestyle, affluent baby boomer, biker Hell's Angel. In one category called rural everlasting, it describes older people with low educational attainment and low net worth. Wouldn't it be nice to be on that list? So, if you are in the rural everlasting category, you are a low educational attainment person with a low net worth. Then there's another one that would be equally uncomfortable to be on, the urban scramble. And that list includes concentrations of Latinos and African Americans with low income. Here's the problem. Most Americans wouldn't like the idea that that is being tracked. But what makes it very scary is that it's not only sold to marketers, it's sold to government themselves. And they're supplementing that which they are developing on you, including through whom? Boom shakalaka-laka. The brand new Consumer Watchdog Agency, it was created under the Dodd-Frank Act of Treason. That was the thing that was passed in 2010 to monitor the financial industry. Yeah, right. It's a alleged Consumer Watchdog Agency. And, well, they're really anything but a watchdog agency. What they really are is a tracking entity. And they track your purchases and they track your banking transactions. And with this information, they're supposed to be, protecting you and looking out for your best interest, but of course that's a secondary issue. They are monitoring every transaction in your bank, every check you write, every ATM card swipe you give, every credit card purchase, where you travel, what you shop at, what you buy, when you're there, where you go, what you subscribe to. And they've had a problem of late. The problem is that they have, first of all, they're new. They were only created in 2010, so they're only 4 years old, which is, as federal government agencies go, that's an infant, right? So they were designed to be a consumer watchdog, and they're scrapping their system of employee ratings now because they have concerns. They've been trying to figure out how to rate their employees, which, by the way, private companies or private industry have been doing for, since time immemorial. It's fairly easy. You have a supervisor who goes out and reviews the people who are under him and provides some sort of a merit-based response or report as to how that individual has been performing in their job duties. Now, the problem that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has is that they don't want their employee ratings to be discriminatory. Now, the discriminatory part comes in when one person is made to look better than another. Not because of race or religion or sex or, creed or color or any of that other nonsense. Because one person does their job more efficiently or better than another one. The rating system that they use now scores a rank between 1 and 5. And because of their concerns with discrimination within the system, everyone who scores a 3 or above, regardless of what your performance is, will now be getting the top rating of 5. Oh, by the way, that comes with the corresponding retroactive, we're going to go back into the past, pay raise. Only government could construe this as an appropriate and legitimate use of its authority and power. This is slated to cost the taxpayers $5 million just to cover the retroactive pay raises, which is a mere, bag of shells to these traitors and communists and statists and elitists. But what's really disturbing about this is that government is all like this. Nobody can have a merit. It's like this concept that we just heard about with the school, where the school sent home a note to parents saying that they were going to cancel the honor roll program at the school, where they were going to honor the honor roll children who had done exceptionally well, because other kids who didn't make the honor roll might feel bad. And how they wanted to cancel field day in another school, because field day, some kids can't jump as high as other kids, and some kids can't run as fast as other kids. And they don't want anyone to feel left out. So everyone at field day was supposed to not try. If you can run faster than the other kids, and you know it, and you would know it because, out on the playground, you've been doing it for years. And Cindy knows that she's the fastest runner. But she's told, Cindy, now when you run, we don't want you to actually win. We want you to make sure that you look over your shoulder, and if there's anybody who's still behind you, just kind of let them catch up. Essentially, the federal government is saying that there is no good employee and bad employee. There are only employees. And all employees are equally good. Now, we know that this has been a program and a practice in place for years. How do we know that? Well, you cannot get fired from the VA, even though you have criminal guilt associated with the fact that you have been playing with veterans and people's lives. They cannot fire those people. They can't fire them. Did you hear what I just said? They can't fire them because it takes over a year to be fired from a government job because they have a union. And the union says, nobody's ever wrong. Can't fire them. Now, we know that Louisiana VA staff falsified documents. Falsified documents. That's fraud. If you did that at work, you'd be fired. If not charged criminally, assuming that it cost the company something. So here's the question. See, this eliminates the principle and the concept that we might ever see perp walks out of something like this, or the IRS, or the Benghazi scandal, or the other scandal with the IRS itself, or the other scandal with Fast and Furious. Why no perp walks? You don't need a multi-year investigation to ascertain that an individual should be arrested and charged with criminal behavior. They don't wait for that perp walk for you. The entire Veterans Administration staff should be relieved, eliminated, replaced. And until then, every vet should be able to use his veteran's ID card to walk in and get services at a local hospital. See, that's an actual and executive order that everybody in America would probably agree with. Not like the other kinds of executive orders that we've been getting. But you see, the problem is that everything is upside down. There's retroactive payments that are going to go out to this group at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which is called an independent agency, by the way. And there is no such thing. How can you make a statement like that? Independent agency. Independent of what? So anyone who got a rating of 3. So, look, here's the analogy. When you're in school, you can get an A, you can get a B. You can get a C, you can get a D, and you can get an F. Now, everybody knows that A and B would be an exceptional ranking, and you've done well. C says this is an average ranking, and that with this ranking of average, you're passing, but that's about the limit of what you've got going for you. You're just average. D says you're not living up to your potential, or you're just not cutting it because this is a subject you just can't grasp and gain control over, and so either you got to work harder to pull it up or you got to go. And F says, you completely and utterly failed. What they're saying here is that anyone with a C rating or higher gets paid as if they got an A+. Now, what about the people who actually did get an A+? What about the people who got a B? Isn't that unfair to them that they got an A and a B, and that the guy who got a C is receiving the same accolades for being on the honor roll as them? Linda Swindling, the author of Stop Complainers and Energy Drainers, How to Negotiate Work Drama to Get More Done, she says to give an across-the-board raise slaps the face of the people who actually deserve it. The original article was found at the American Banker. They're the ones who originally uncovered this. And they found that minority employees were likely to receive lower evaluations than their white counterparts. Here we go with the white privilege crap again. A 2013 internal agency report found 74.6% of white employees receive ratings of 4 or 5, compared with 65.2% of Hispanics and 57.6% of black employees. So, in order to eliminate the drama and the potential for discrimination, we're just going to give everybody an A. Well, first of all, I'd like to know who actually did that study. In other words, at American Banker, they found that these minority employees were likely to receive lower valuations, right? Were they white or were they black or were they Hispanic people who did the study? I want to know their party affiliation. I want to know where they came from. I want to know how they view this. I want to know if the word white privilege has ever crossed their lip. The problem that we have is that the entire nation has descended into anarchy. Social, mental, logical, reason, anarchy. And the chaos is intentional. They are using people as pawns to create a level of chaos. The purpose of it is distraction. The purpose of it is to make sure that everyone's off balance. Everyone is disoriented. No one can feel confident or get a grasp on what's happening. Think of it like this. When the police kick in your door on a SWAT team, one of the first things they do is they lob in a flashbang because it goes bang and it's a high concussion, which shakes you, it deafens you, and because of the concussion, it physically rocks your body. And it blinds you. So now, and of course, you're sitting there in a room, right? And here comes this thing, and you hear a clunk, and it rolls across the floor or skitters across the floor, and all eyes are drawn to it because it's the moving object in the room. Boom, it goes off. You're now blinded, you're deafened, and your body is traumatized from the concussion. And so while you're disoriented and off balance and just trying to figure out what's going on, here come all of these guys in black uniforms. Hut, 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 hut. Everybody down on the floor. Blah, 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 blah. The same analogy is happening, but it's happening on a nationwide basis. And it's happening right now in our country as we speak. It's a slow motion version of a SWAT raid. Everyone in the room is completely and totally disoriented. We've been flashbanged into a level of disorientation and chaos. And out of the chaos will come the order of tyranny. The order of tyranny. Because with tyranny is order. There is order in tyranny. Ask any nation, or the victim of any nation, that has committed genocide. There is order in how they accomplish the task. Ask any slave how it's accomplished. Well, it's accomplished by having order. There is order when repression is the daily grind. Everyone just does what they're told or fears losing their life or their freedom. But our federal government operates on this lowest common denominator principle because they're all in training. They're all in training. This is political correctness run amok. And it's not limited just to the CFPB. It's a slap in the face to everybody in the country who was operating under the premise that hard work and motivation and drive and focus would actually carry the day for you, that there was something at the end of all of that that you earned, that there was a reason behind it, and that because of that hard work, because of that motivation, you would personally benefit. The goal is to seek and sow the seeds of chaos. And given the collapse of our society as we know it, the inevitable conclusion to that is what? A phoenix must rise from the ashes. The question is, will the phoenix be liberty or tyranny? And I guarantee you that the statists and those amongst us who thrive and survive and live their lives based on Bernays' concept that if you're an elitist, you actually know better. And that the rest of those peasants should just follow my lead. If they only knew what was good for them, they wouldn't question, because I know what's best for them. That is the future, ladies and gentlemen, and that is the future of America. If you have not drawn the conclusion that the premise behind what's happening here is your total and abject enslavement, then I quite cannot understand for the life of me why you're listening to this program. Apparently, not enough of you do. There are 315 million Americans in this country, give or take a few in either direction. And out of that 315 million, there are about 1 million, roughly, that are your overlords. There are probably another 5 or 8 million, maybe as high as 10, that they are the kind of the cruel overseer operating under the direction of the plantation owner, so to speak. And their goal is your complete and total and abject subjugation to debt, to their orders, to their rules of law, which are not meant for anyone to follow other than you. These people don't follow law, as we now know. I mean, you couldn't get away with it. If you did this in a company, you'd be sued. And people would be screaming, courts, solve this problem. This is unfair. Ladies and gentlemen, the center cannot hold indefinitely. And the question is, are you prepared, one, to defend and protect yourself and your own immediate family? And then secondarily, are you following the course of leadership? Are you living up to the responsibility that you have to be a leader? If you're not, then you need to have a serious conversation with the mirror. Because each of you is in a position to lead. Someone, somehow, somewhere. Small or great, big or little, we're all in a position to lead. The question is, are you going to lead others? You're going to educate those around you and raise their awareness, or fall asleep? You've been listening to America's Voice Now. You can communicate with me direct by Mike at America's Voice Now. It's Mike at americasvoicenow.org. See you tomorrow.